This video essay is titled North Cider or South Cider, an examination of linguistic features in localised branding narratives. The cultural artifact I have chosen is Bulmer's North Cider or South Cider billboard advertisement, which was located on the Loop Line Bridge up until 2019 and held sentimental meaning to Dubliners for its 16-year lifespan and beyond. The advertisement was distinctive in that it was one of a kind and distinguishable from other standardised advertisements. Through my analysis of the narrative of this advertisement, I will take a semiotic approach, and I will argue that this Bulmer's marketing strategy utilised rhetoric linguistic features to relate to their audience on a cultural level in their effort to localise their brand. In advertising, the signification of language is certainly intentional. Implicit in advertising language are denoted and connoted messages, with the former being the literal message and the latter being the symbolic message. The messages in the North Cider or South Cider advertisement will provide as the basis for my argument. I will show that through ethnocentric marketing and wordplay, this advertisement attracted the attention of its audience, suggesting that Bulmer's and the viewers shared a perceived common ground. Through adopting an ethnocentric marketing approach, Bulmer's focused on the cultural composition of their target market. The typically one-way communication of advertising was challenged in favour of a discourse that reflected cultural values and influenced the localised message. Localisation is often presented as antithetical to standardisation in this simplified marketing dichotomy, and its advantage as a marketing strategy is that it allows campaigns to be accessible to different cultures. The target audience in the case of the North Cider or South Cider advertisement were the people of Dublin. This is apparent from the geographical location of the advertisement and its use of literary devices that conflated Bulmer's cider with the North Side-South Side cultural divide distinct to the city of Dublin. The narrative apparent in this advertisement was Bulmer's creation of brand affinity, a relationship between the brand and the audience constructed through semiotic functions within the cultural specificity of the context. Anchored by the work of Roland Barthes and the rhetoric, I will now discuss two compelling linguistic features of the advertisement that localise the brand: connotations and pragmatics. As previously mentioned, connotations are not explicit or literal. They are words and phrases that carry associations. According to Barthes, connoted messages are coded iconic messages, meaning the reader applies their knowledge to decipher the information communicated. He further explains that the knowledge on which the message depends is heavily cultural. In order to dissect the connoted message, it is first necessary to understand the denotations of the Bulmer's advertisement, the purpose of which are to anchor the message. In mass communications, literal linguistic messages are imperative. These titles, captions, and dialogues function to identify denoted meanings in images and text. As Barthes notes, a caption helps to choose the correct level of perception. Focus not just your gaze, but also your understanding. Although the North Cider or South Cider advertisement relies heavily on cultural association, literal messages are used to anchor the audience's perception and provide fundamental, standardised information. Two denoted messages are the Bulmer's logo and the word cider. The Irish cider brand, owned by C&C Group, have an established logo that states their name, pronounces their Irishness, and depicts a graphic of 3 cider barrels. The logo appears on an array of commodities, and it is apparent that this advertisement was for the Bulmer's brand. If the viewer was not familiar with the type of good produced by Bulmer's, the word cider, which appeared twice, confirmed the beverage being advertised on the billboard. Thus, the denoted messages establish that Bulmer's cider was what was being advertised. Now, the connoted message can be analysed. In localised marketing, idiolect is a useful tool, whereby the unique use of language by a particular group of people can be used by the advertiser to embody symbols and evoke emotions. Colloquially declared North Side and South Side, the two regions of Dublin City are separated by the River Liffey, and are typically differentiated according to economic privilege, with the south side being more economically privileged and the north side being less. The economic divide induced a cultural divide, and many locals attach intense significance to their identity as a North Sider or South Sider. The dichotomous nature of the divide polarizes the city, and this is reflected in Bulmer's binary question, North Sider or South Sider. In this advertisement, the connoted meaning contributed to the narrative that Bulmer's understands and relates to Dublin culture, and this supported the localising of their brand identity. The second linguistic feature of this advertisement that I will analyse is the use of pun. The saturation of messages in mass communications has led advertisers to incorporate wordplay to attract their target market. Puns allow the advertiser to recycle language and the reader to interpret the meaning, and so are dependent on the context. Wordplay is an asset to advertisers. Puns attract viewers' attention, the humour relaxes their attitude, and the puzzle of puns allows them to feel good about their intellectual capabilities. Puns are puzzles because of their ambiguity. These statements can only be decoded if the audience possesses sufficient cultural knowledge. Relevance theory, a pragmatics framework proposed in 1995 by Dan Sperber and Deirdre Wilson, is helpful here to interpret how the advertiser communicated with the audience through the use of puns. The framework is for understanding utterance interpretation, including utterances whose content is superficially irrelevant to their context, such as the North Sider or South Sider advertisement. Furthermore, relevance theory defines ostensive stimulus as stimulus designed to attract the audience's attention and focus it on the advertiser's meaning. In this case, Bulmer's use of pun was ostensive, as it directed the audience to the denoted meaning. And, once the denoted meaning was understood, the viewer could then interpret the connotations of the advertisement within the context of the North Side-South Side divide. Through my analysis of the linguistic features of connotations and pragmatics, as evident in this advertisement, I can derive that cultural context was fundamental to the use of these literary devices. Bulmer's localisation strategy employed cultural knowledge of Dublin City and utilised rhetorical methods to construct a narrative of the Irishness of the cider brand. Hence, I can conclude that through emotional marketing, this billboard advertisement was transformed into a cultural artefact.